Hey friend, welcome to the Halfway to Dead podcast. I'm your host, Jen Lovell. Listen, you and I have reached that age where we are done with the bullshit. We know that midlife is our chance to flip the script and experience life on our own terms. It's time to reconnect with our higher selves and reclaim our inner peace. Are you ready with an open heart and an open mind? Awesome, you're in the right place. Hop in and ride shotgun with me on this midlife spiritual journey. Hey guys, welcome back. If you haven't done it yet, whatever app you're listening to this podcast on, can you just real quick click follow for me? That helps you, that helps me. It's a win-win. Okay, so today I interviewed Daryl Carlson. Daryl graduated from Moody Bible Institute, was a missionary for over 15 years, and then rejected Christianity for what he feels is something better. He's a master practitioner of Neuro-Semantic NLP, a certified meta coach, and currently works for a secular nonprofit organization. He is on this journey of life with his patient wife, Laura, 3 wonderful kids, and 1 rambunctious mini golden doodle. In his own words, quote, "I'm an old white guy who knows that life is best lived by empowering others." Okay, I don't know if I agree with this. I'm an old guy because we're the same age. So yeah, Daryl, when you listen back to this, you're not old, right? Gen X, running strong. So what do we talk about? We go through Daryl's spiritual journey story and his religious deconstruction process. He attended Moody Bible Institute, and that should tell you a lot right there. He was pretty deep in the religion world. So we talk about that, and then we really dive into the logistics of this Neuro-Semantic NLP. NLP is neuro-linguistic programming, just as an FYI before you dive in. We talk all about it, and it has a lot to do with this map that we have embedded in our brain and about this mind, body, spirit connection and how our brain has this map that really automatically makes a lot of decisions for us and explains why we react kind of the way we do. And so we talk a lot about this map and how we can modify it and we can reframe different memories to better our life, to finish strong, you guys, right? That's the whole point. This feels like another really good tool for when we're doing the work, right? We're digging into old traumas. We're having to do a little religious deconstruction ourselves. I learned a lot and I hope that you're about to too. Let's get in there. Hi, Daryl. Thanks for being here with us today.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm very excited about this.
Yes. And I'm really excited to share your perspective on everything because I know that there's a lot of people out there right now that share your perspective or are trying to get to the place you're at. There's so many interesting things that I realize that you know about. So I'm excited to learn myself today, along with all my friends.
Life is exciting. Lots of experiences.
Lots of experiences. Okay. So I think I want to start with your own personal spiritual journey story, because I just let everybody know you were a missionary, Moody Bible School. So you weren't just a kind of Christian. Like some people are Christian and they go to church twice a year, right? For the holidays.
Right.
But you were, you were at a much deeper level of Christianity than the average person. Is that right?
If you want to, yes. Yeah, I guess we do have a hierarchy within Christianity, and missionary is right there, right around the pastor level. But I had always been a very reflective kid growing up. Mm-hmm. Spirituality God was always very real to me. Mm-hmm. And I grew up in a Christian home, evangelical home. I grew up in a Bible church, which is a lot more like Baptist, not fire and brimstone, but definitely hell was real, but my parents were Pentecostal. And so I always knew that there wasn't just one way for Christians to think or to be.
Yeah.
And so I grew up with that little broader understanding, but it was always just took it very seriously. It was in 2nd grade when I knew I needed to give my life to God, is how I understood at the time. And from that moment, I just wanted to be a missionary. It was just in the fabric of myself. And my parents, hindsight, and my parents loved that, and so I was sort of like, my siblings come from a family of 7 kids, 6 siblings.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And so I was always like the favored one, they told me later, in life.
Oh, you were kind of the golden child because you chose this very religious path very early.
Golden child turns to black sheep. It's quite a that little roller coaster dip really hits your stomach pretty hard. So just grew up really interested in that. Went to Awana all the time, Vacation Bible School, Sunday school, studied the Bible verses, took it seriously, went to Moody Bible Institute, which is like the mecca for evangelicalism. I was
going to say, you went to Moody. You were all in.
It's just like, man, that's just a whole other level right there. Did the mission trips while I was going to Moody, did a year in Russia, which was just phenomenal, growing experience. Even aside from the religion, just exposure to another culture and to be the minority who didn't know the language. And I knew that I wasn't stupid, even though I can't speak to anybody. So and I met my wife a little bit later, just when I was turned 30, we got married. Okay. So started a family later in life. So I'm 53 and I still have a 12-year-old. It's the youngest.
Yeah.
Keeps me
You
going.
know what? We all do it differently, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So I grew up like that. And so it was interesting for me, that spiritual journey, and the deconstruction began because of my pursuit of knowing the truth and getting closer and going deeper. And it was in a real way with God's blessing that I took this turn, right? Which I think is really hard for people to really grasp, who are still my family and friends of mine are still in that world.
Yeah, it's hard for them because they're still really indoctrinated in what they have been raised to believe. So they feel like, what do you mean? I don't think you can tell us that God's okay with us. No, I can.
I don't think you can tell that God put me in this direction. It's like, no, you obviously went wrong somewhere.
Yeah.
But in that pursuit and wanting to heal and wanting to get better, it was like shortly after my first child was born, I just started to feel like, man, I'm still like a lot of the bad habits my dad had, the anger I have, it's still here even after being a missionary and doing all these things. And I got turned on to this neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, from a Christian book. They didn't call it NLP. It was something else.
Yeah, right.
They had the Christian Bible verses wrapped around it. And, just because it is NLP gets to the heart of how humans communicate and how we hold beliefs in our mind. So because of that, you can see it in the Bible because a human being wrote the Bible. So it's there. But I started to understand that and got healing from that. And for me, as I got the healing, it was radical, it was quick, it was fast. And I saw that these tools really worked, but the tools had a underpinning. The assumptions that went with the tools, some of them directly contradicted the Bible. So I'm like, what do I do?
No. Yeah.
And so it caused me to start to go deeper and really get into, why is that doctrine there? Where did that doctrine come from? And then you begin to see, oh, wait, that doctrine, which seems so foundational, actually had a beginning after Jesus came and died and rose again, right? Some human being put this belief system together. And that just started this journey of growing, unraveling, learning these tools, unraveling some more, becoming certified as a meta-coach, which is built on those same school of tools and all this.
When you're learning all this, what is your day job? Are we missionary at this point?
Yes. So in the middle of all of this too, which is what's really interesting. So we were on home service, and when I started to learn these tools, I went to the author of the book I read. He was in Minnesota, so it was like a 6-hour drive. I got some counseling and start to learn a little bit more about these tools, got even more freedom, but still a missionary. We were in Alaska. We were going to go to Ukraine to do something completely different, but the funding wasn't coming in. The support money wasn't coming in. And then they asked us to go back to Alaska, and I had been involved in radio ministry. I have my degree in radio and broadcasting, and we decided to go back. And that going back, I had some of these tools, went into a situation in ministry, which was the worst experience I've ever had. It was the radio ministry was sort of falling apart. The organization wanted to make it a separate 501c3. There was a lot of really bad history with the missionaries and the leadership. And they fired some people. I stepped in. The community hated me because of it.
And this is in Alaska?
Yes, it's in Alaska, little tiny community halfway between Anchorage and Fairbanks in the middle of nowhere. I lived the radio show Northern Exposure, and it really can be that crazy. They didn't really over-exaggerate too much.
Nothing's lining up. So clearly you were meant to start in a new direction.
Yeah. And so it was really a good experience. It didn't last very long. Good experience in the sense of it just sort of brings you to the end of yourself. And that's when the deconstruction started after that.
You're making changes. The deconstruction started, but you got to pay the bills.
Oh, the deconstruction started right after that. I am a missionary.
Yeah.
I've had this transition. I'm learning these things. And for a long time, I'm able to hold it in this tension of, well, within historical Christianity, they still believed whatever. So I was able to change all of these beliefs, and all of my theology was changing, but I could still be a Christian. And I held on as long as I possibly could.
Yeah, that's very common.
And then we went back on home service in the middle of that. My wife's mother passed away from cancer. And then we found out that her father had dementia right after that funeral. He had been divorced a long time. So we decided to stay home. So I'm coming home on home service, still doing missionary work. And that's when decided to try to change careers. Eventually got a job doing the nonprofit work I'm doing now. Tried to launch my coaching business in the middle of that. That didn't work. So a lot of change, turmoil, upheaval, trying new things not working.
Yeah.
Nothing pretty, really not easy. And eventually then got the secular job, was doing some work for the mission on the side still. And then eventually just before COVID, actually just after COVID, I was able to let go of the missionary work completely. And it wasn't shortly after that. It was August 28th, 2020 is when I set in my heart, mind, intention that I'm done being a Christian.
Gotcha.
And so that
you have a date. You have a date,
Yeah. Cause I know.
What happened that day? Was there something or how do you know?
It goes absolutely. So and even after that, I still played with thinking I could I felt okay. Cause you go into the world of Christian history and you look at the Christian mystic tradition. And some of those Christian mystics just are as woo-woo as all the New Agers right now, They just have they have Jesus labels, but otherwise it's like the same thing.
Identical. Yeah.
But that was the time in which I knew I needed to make a change. I knew that holding on to my ideas about Jesus from Christianity, I needed to let that go in order to really heal. Yeah. And I knew that if I come back around, I knew I was safe. And I think that's a big piece that I learned. I also heard this from a atheist spiritual director. She has a podcast and a website called No Nonsense Spirituality. She says something that I've come to find to be really true. It's that ability to change your beliefs. Really, you need that foundation of just feeling safe enough to be able to question.
Yes.
And so for me, I had that foundation, that sense that I was safe.
Okay. Because obviously you're feeling safe. Your wife is on board. She's already knows.
Not real.
Okay, wife wasn't on board yet.
She has her own path. I mean, I don't like to speak for her.
No.
I was so much of this. She knew I was changing theologies and that, and I was questioning those things. But when I made that shift to not be a Christian anymore, I kept that to myself for a while.
For a little while. Yep.
Yeah. Sure. Because I've known people that when they made that final break, it ends marriages.
Yeah.
And so I was just being a little bit cautious with that.
You need time to finish processing in your own head before you're ready to that out into the world to your loved ones.
Yeah. So I know the date because of the training I have, and I know how beliefs are formed and how you can break apart an old belief that is toxic and you don't want anymore and how to build a new one. I did that. And I quite frankly, to be very honest, I did it in a way that was vivid and emotionally charged. I literally kicked Jesus out of my heart, in my mind, and with my imagination. I did that. And that made a very clear, clean break within me that I'm done with that.
Yeah. Okay, Daryl, hold on. Yeah. Hold the phone. Hold the phone. All right. That was just that statement alone.
Right.
I kicked Jesus out of my heart is probably feeling a little heavy to some listeners right now. Okay.
I'm sure.
So just tell me this. You kicked him out, but you eventually reframed your beliefs, right? Because where are you at with Jesus now? We still
we're good.
and everything, or what are we doing with this?
So in doing that, what I knew in reality, what I was doing, because to say that, I have a different understanding about what that even means. I knew that in my mind and in my heart, I had a whole lot of beliefs about who Jesus is that came from Christianity that I already knew were not lining up with reality, or at least as close to what reality you can come to understand. And so kicking Jesus out of my heart really was kicking out all of those old, toxic, wrong thinking. But I had to do a clean break. I had to just clear it all out and start
you were clearing it out and then reestablishing really your relationship with Jesus in a different way.
Yeah, but I wouldn't even say, it's interesting. I don't even think about it in that term anymore, right?
Okay.
It was for sure. I had let it go, and I knew I needed to reconfigure what I believed in my own time and in my own way, without having to worry about thinking how it should look or what it should be like.
Oh, right. Yeah. You didn't need to define it or anything like that.
So, but there was that safety. I knew I had to neurologically, and in my mind, I knew I had to tell my brain that that's done in order for me to be able to heal, because there are always so many little tiny subconscious beliefs or things attached to the past that are toxic that were just getting in the way. So it was that clean break allowed me to clear the way to move forward. So I really still I was just listening to your interview you did with Beth, who is a friend of mine. A lot of what I believe now really gels a lot with what Beth was even saying, So I have no problem believing that Jesus really existed, that he was a mystic master, that he was taking what a lot of these different traditions you see around the world and speaking it in a Jewish way to a Jewish audience. And so I can really resonate still with a lot of that. But I definitely don't worship Jesus. I definitely don't.
I don't think you want to worship him anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm on my journey, and it's like he's over there, and sometimes we'll talk, and it's like high five, and
Well, exactly. I'm not sure if I talked about this, Beth, or who, but recently I've been talking to a couple people about the fact that we've mistranslated things.
Yeah.
That's part of the problem. And as humans, long after Jesus was gone, then we started constructing this religion, right? Based on that. Because a lot of people use that as, I'm the way, the truth, the light. I'm the only way. Only through me will you get to heaven. What do you think it was really saying?
There are a lot of great explanations. I still love the book of John. The book of John is I've always loved the book of John more than anything. And it just so happens that is very close to the Gnostic Christian tradition, which since around the Council of Nicaea was ostracized as heretic, and they tried to scrub it out, but thankfully that still is in there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot in there that I still appreciate, that I think you can see a lot of that kind of mystic Jesus is there in John.
Yeah, because there's a lot of missing years too. A lot of missing years where he was off doing his own journey, I think.
Very likely. Well, you still have then, from what I remember, from what I hear people talk about, there are groups in India that have oral traditions of a Jesus being there and learning, and so it's not a far stretch, because Judaism in that time and with the Roman world, and they were at the crossroads of culture. Everything went through that region because of the fertility of it and the location of it. So to be able to go from there to somewhere else is not a far stretch, especially when the way he was thinking seemed to have been so different from a lot what was going on contemporarily. But how I differ from a lot of people is I really don't see the value of trying to say, what did he really mean?
No, we don't know.
Yeah.
It's just nice sometimes to hear different people's perspectives on their journey of how they kind of reworked things in their own mind. Because I know people listening are at that point. So I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm not going to participate in Christianity anymore. I don't consider myself a Christian, but I still love me some Jesus. I love his teachings. I do think that we are supposed to be more the way he lived his life, right? And went through the journey and got closer to God and all of the things, which is why in the spiritual world, he's referred to more as an ascended master, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He went from being somebody I worshiped, somebody who I had to have in order for me to be acceptable, to someone that I could follow his way of doing things, his mindset, the way he saw his relationship with Source, the Father. I think Father very much so was that because he was a Jew and that's how they saw their God the Father.
Yes.
The fact that he saw himself as divine, I can say, I know that I am divine in the exact same way Jesus said he is divine.
Yes.
And because that is so radical and was radical, I mean, you look at John and the Pharisees, so in John, one of my favorite verses, right? Areas which always confused me. And there was this crazy tension with it. When the Pharisees picked up stones to throw and kill Jesus, he says, for what good deed are you picking up stones to kill me? And he say, not for anything that you have done, but because you, a mere man, claim to be God. That's where most churches stop. They say, oh, you see, he said he's divine. Follow the next verse, he says. Doesn't it say in your own scriptures, referring to the Old Testament, that he said to them, you are gods? Hello.
Yeah. From a spiritual point of view, if we start to think about these scriptures, it makes me believe that we are all in the oneness, that we are all a small piece of God, which essentially makes us all divine. So Jesus was divine, but he wasn't saying that we weren't. Right?
Yes.
We're saying,
and
you follow my path because you are me.
And we are supposed to completely follow that path. And the prayer in John 17, where he says, God, may they be one as we are one, you and me and I and you and they and us. Like that is another thing in John that was always a little confusing. Now it makes more sense.
Like the Bible, like the Bible and scriptures just hit differently for you now.
Yeah,
right.
It still does. And I'm starting to get back into it. I haven't just picked up the Bible and read it in a long time, but I can still listen to now some other friends of mine that are teachers who are going back to use the Bible in this new way. It still is very comfortable for me to do that. Yeah. And I was very purposeful after I decided to walk away from Christianity that whatever I started to believe moving forward, it was going to be set up in a way that it could change easily. That I never again want to be in a place where I allow myself to be so locked in that I'm going to go through this massive turmoil if I need to update or change my beliefs.
Right.
And so that is
because you're more comfortable and open now. Yeah.
I refused to go all in blindly and lock out all other options. I haven't changed. No. My beliefs change, but how I approach life, how I go after things, it's just, I've just gone deeper and I've expanded what I believe. And it's beautiful.
Because
it's fun.
All of the different faiths, all of the different religions, I think all basically are all heading the same direction. I think we argue too much with each other because I think at the core, we're all thinking the same things, right? Different paths back to source, divine, God, whatever you're out there listening, you call it. I feel like we're all heading the same direction. We should stop arguing about it. That's a little bit of my take.
Oh yeah, I can totally get that. But it's also like but we're here to learn something, and that's something I've really just recently, Journey of Souls is a book that we just picked up recently, and I forget the name of the author, but he's a PhD. He's a clinical psychologist. He is an expert hypnotherapist. And he started to reluctantly realize that doing past life regression and hypnosis was helping some of his clients. And in doing that, he stumbled upon some of his clients were remembering in hypnosis the in-between between one life and the next. And so he started to pursue that as an expert in hypnotherapy and knows how to guide people right without inputting anything into them. Over 1,000 of these kinds of hypnotic interviews has pieced together what he believes is a really pretty good, accurate picture of what it looks like in between lives. That's that's the spiritual journey. That's where we're sort of moving forward now and figuring that out. And, and if anyone wants to listen to Beth's interview, I'm the guy that did the video to come out to my family, my friends.
Tell me more about this. So you did this video.
Yeah.
Because that coming out moment, coming out of the old spiritual closet is not an easy one for anyone. Just so you're aware out there. We're not saying any of this is easy.
And so, that encouraged Beth to take her leap. So that's part of why I love what you're doing, because as we hear each other's stories, it encourages us, and then it can help us maybe to take a step we need to take, but that it's been hard to take. And it was like 3 years I was in that place of not being a Christian, still could relate to my family, didn't feel like I had to say that I wasn't a Christian to any of them, because of I'm still a mystic. Me and Jesus are still good because he's actually a mystic. You guys just don't know that. That's what I'm saying inside my head, right? But I just knew, because of the dynamic with my family, and I love them, but I will just say that, it was hard because as I was, for those years before that, when I was just changing theology, that was enough change for them that it's like a road they couldn't travel.
Yeah.
And so I started to feel that distance between myself and them because they didn't know what to do. Right. And so when I got to the place that I knew that, okay, if I'm going to really have a relationship with my family and just a couple of close friends that I had, I had so many acquaintances being a missionary, and after leaving the mission field, I lost touch with everybody except for these couple close people. I just said, I want them to know who I am. And so then we can move forward and have a relationship with me if they still want one, because my identity was so wrapped up in God. My identity was so tightly wound with being a missionary, with doing ministry. I now realize I did not know who I was. I really did not know who I was. And my relationships, even with my family, in such a very large part, was wrapped up in that.
Yeah.
So I knew that it was important for me to do it for myself, so I can start to then stand up and say, no, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And
because
be able
everybody
to
probably
say
thought
it.
they needed to resave Daryl.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, I didn't give him that chance.
No, but
yeah.
So
yeah.
You made this video, and basically in it, you
Yeah.
let them know what your current spiritual beliefs are.
I actually didn't. I just said, I'm not a Christian, and I did not tell them what I currently believed, because I knew I wanted to set it up in a way, at least in my own mind, where you are going to need to get to know me again. And if I told them anything about what I currently believe, number one, I knew that it was shifting. I knew I was still in the middle of growing, and what I think now and what I thought those, 2 years ago when I let this video out is already very different.
Yeah.
Same, but different nuances. And so I just knew that I'm not a Christian. You need to know that, but let's move forward and try to start to get to know each other from that point. And I laid out, it's like, don't try to save me. It's like I said, I've been 3 years that I'm not a Christian. I've thought this through more than you could possibly imagine. I've sought out all the experts that I felt could answer my questions. And so I did due diligence, and I acknowledged it was hard, and I still love them. And, for all my family, they're still taking that path with me, but not so much my friends.
And this went out
for Beth.
Emailed this baby out to everybody all at once.
Yep.
Okay. And then did you what was that feeling in your gut? Did you feel relieved after you hit send?
Yes, I did.
You feel stressed out?
Well, I had made a version of that 3 or 4 times for the 6 months previous to sending it out.
Yeah, you worked yourself up to it.
Oh, yeah. I had to work it out.
Emails or videos and scrap and said, that was just a practice one, not sending yet. Yeah. Almost like when we journal, we get it all out, but maybe no one sees it for a long time.
Yeah. So I felt really good about how I said it, how I affirmed the relationship. And so it was good. I felt good about it. It took some time, and so it took a couple hard conversations with some of my family members. I feel like we're in a okay place.
Yeah.
And I don't know where the relationships will go, but I feel good right now with where it's at. And, it's not really where I would like it to be, but they're on their journey too. And I have to give them that space
Their
to
path,
do that.
it doesn't have to match yours.
Yeah. What I would love to talk about as well, and feels like a good place to talk about it, is the big piece that was really driving a lot of this for me was those tools I picked up from neuro-linguistic programming. Because that gave me the ability to, number one, understand my beliefs and how my brain works with them. And that's part of me too, is I'm always been more of a philosophical, theological type of a mind.
Yeah.
My faith was a lot more cerebral, but in this deconstruction and where I'm at now, I feel like a lot more whole. And so my faith is also now a lot more emotional as well. I feel more connected to divine now than before,
same.
Which I think is a common theme for those of us going down this journey. Absolutely.
I hear it all the time. I'm me too. All right. So it's called Neuro-Semantic NLP. This is what you specialize in.
Yes.
What the heck's that? You got to tell us all, because I know a lot of people listening right now are like, what the heck is that?
Yeah. So it started with neuro-linguistic programming. And in the brief history, that was like in the 1970s, it started to be developed. Tony Robbins was one of the first people who was trained in that world. But it sort of was a little Wild West of a thing. He couldn't use the phrase NLP, and he just branded his own kind of thing.
Version, yeah.
Yeah. So, but a lot of what he has done is that, so that people can understand that. It is understanding the way our neurology uses language to run programs that we unconsciously, subconsciously run off of, right? Okay. So that's how it breaks down. And then it was Michael Hall. He's a former pastor who's a doctor in neurosemantics, who's a licensed counselor, started using NLP with his clients. And then all of a sudden, the clients he had for years were done and healed and didn't need to see him anymore. And he thought, well, this is fantastic because these people are getting free, but I think I'm going to work myself out of a job here.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, those tools in NLP help you to take anything, understand it at a fine-grained level, how it works, what your brain is doing, break it down so that you can help somebody else learn it faster. So he saw the world of coaching and how it was developing, and how there were some people that were these amazing coaches that could like work magic seemingly with people. He studied them, broke down what they did, how they did it, and then created the meta coaching program. And then that's also where neurosemantics was born. So neuro is the brain, and semantics being just a more of a nuanced, deeper way that your brain uses language. So it's sort of like another layer. It goes a little deeper. It adds to it. And so those things together is his version that has been added to NLP. So that's a long-winded story. Hopefully it begins to make a little sense.
This is another tool we can use in our journeys, in our healing from past traumas, whatever's going on, the things we're working on.
Yeah, absolutely.
How does it work?
So that's what's so fun about it. Because when you understand how your brain works a little bit better, right? Because it's such a big, huge mystery, ultimately. It's helpful. You can use the analogy of a computer with your brain. And I would think it fits really well with spirituality, because we have, I believe, a soul, an eternal part of us that is the truest part of who we are, that has been joined with this physical body and this brain sort of operate. And it's me, but it's also a little bit not me. It's because we can think about our thinking. I mean, I can do something and say something and then stop and go, why in the world did I say that? I mean, that's so strange. No, the monkeys don't do that. They don't think and reflect on what they did or disagree with themselves. Why would I do that? I didn't want to do that. And so there's a lot of layers going on. An easy way to understand that is, let me just lay out like this experience. Here's a pretend story, okay? A make-believe story. And it'll lay in how our mind works and, why two people can go through the same thing and experience it and react totally differently. We have in our brain, we have beliefs, right? We have things that we believe about everything. And you operate off of the beliefs that are in your brain. No one who's ever existed ever operates off of what is actually going on in the world. We operate off of what we believe and what's going on inside our own mind.
Mm-hmm.
So in the 1930s, Albert Korzybski wrote a book called Science and Sanity, and he coined this phrase, the map is not the territory. So the territory is reality, what's going on in the outside world at any given time. And we operate off of a map in our own brain on that. Okay. And we only operate off the map. Now, we build the map based off of what we take in from the outside world, even starting from when you're a baby and you're born and you're absorbing everything.
A lot of these beliefs that are embedded probably come in the first 7 years of life, is what I've heard.
Absolutely. Like, so much of that. 7 years old
are so important for kids because that's when our beliefs are getting embedded in there, which is why if you're brought up as a child in a heavy, strict religion, that's programmed into you now. That's in there.
Yeah, absolutely is. And that map is getting built all through that time. And there's survival instinct in there. And you're trying to figure out, how do I get what I need, even as a little baby? And you'll react and you'll learn what's acceptable, what's not acceptable.
Yeah, I got to get on board with everybody living in this household with me because survival.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
And then as a group collective, we all sort of do things a certain way because the group needs to work together. So the group determines what we will do and what we will do, what we accept and what we won't accept. And so there's a level of conformity because there's survival, right? And that's part of that's like primal evolutionary, our body, brain stuff going on, right? Yes. As part of how this system is. So we operate off of that map. And in order to do that, your brain then, I think this is really accurate. I've heard a lot of different people say it. Aaron Tomlinson is a great friend of mine who does a lot of teaching on this. He's, again, former pastor, licensed therapist, trained in NLP as well. And the brain, actually, its main job is to filter. Okay. It filters and then reassembles. That's like a big function of what your brain does. And its point is survival. So you can survive. So it's a great tool. It's a wonderful thing. But as you go through things and things happen to you, it comes into your body through your senses, through your 5 senses, and your brain takes it, and there's more information than it could ever possibly know what to do with. And so I think like millions and millions and millions of bits of information every second. So the vast majority of what's coming in, your brain, without your approval, based on what the map is, has to delete off a whole lot because I just can't process all that. Yeah, what's important, what's not important.
Okay.
No. So it does that. It deletes. And then it will generalize a lot. It's not so much concerned with what is this really. It really looks at what's going on around you and says, what is this most like? Where can I fit this? Which is why your brain likes shortcuts. Your brain consumes a lot of energy. So anything your brain can automate and create a little system and a pattern around and then shove it into your unconscious to save energy, it'll do it.
Comes in, our brain really wants to quickly process it and just like shortcut it. This happened, this is what we do. This happened, this is what we do.
Yeah, it can conserve energy. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Keep me alive. I don't have a whole lot of time. It's why we're biased towards negative. If you're a caveman or cavewoman on the savannah a million years ago, and there is a rustling in the bush over there, it is much better to assume the worst, that it's a lion, and be wrong, because then you're alive. If you assume it's nothing and it's a lion, you're dead. There is this really evolutionarily ingrained
our brains to go negative.
Yeah.
That's what we do. That's what we fight all the time with mental health. Yeah.
But it's it's a survival mechanism.
Yes.
And so even that, it's like, okay, I can give myself a little slack because I go negative so easily. Well, of course you do. Because it's better to be wrong and negative and alive than try to be positive and be wrong and be dead.
Yeah. But then in modern day, that sometimes can do some harm.
Absolutely. Because we don't live on the savannah anymore for most of us, right?
No.
So you have that going on. And then some of it just plain distorts. So it deletes, generalizes, and distorts. Some stuff it will just distort to cram it to make it fit. So that is what your brain does. Then it stores your memories. It doesn't store everything you've ever experienced. It picks out chunks of your past that are important, that are emotionally charged and significant, and saves them in your brain. but it saves it using the same 5 senses as like they call it modality, but it's like the cinematic features of a movie get saved. So in your memory, is it color or is it black and white? That has a meaning and a significance that your brain uses it to code it. Are there any other noises in your memory? Are you remembering it as a still frame picture or as a running movie? Do you see yourself in the picture disassociated, or are you associated into it by as if you're looking through your own eyes? All of those little features, which are directly related to our 5 senses, your body codes it in your brain. I would add, even then in your body, it's like you have a feeling. Where in your body are you feeling it? The location of where it's stored is significant. And all of that goes together. So your brain stores it in there. But it doesn't stop there, boys and girls. That's just that's ground floor, right? So that is what's going on. But we don't stop there because we are meaning-making machines. To be a human being and to function in this world, we have to make meaning out of stuff. Why is that? Where does that come from? Who am I in relation to that? And so we have that thing that happened to us, and we assign a meaning to it. But then we don't just assign a meaning to it. We'll think about the meaning we assign to it. And is that true?
We're going to overthink it all. Yep.
Yeah. And it's not even overthinking. It's just we think about our thinking and we add nuances, and then it gets related and tangled and interconnected with everything else. And those go up layers, right? So which is why we call it meta coaching, meta being above. And that's called meta stating. So like these are just layers that add up, right?
Okay.
And all of that then works together. And then out of all of that in your map, you react to the world off of all of that. So here's a story to sort of put it all together.
An example.
So say for me, it's the middle of winter. I'm in Peoria, Illinois. We occasionally get snow. We used to have a lot of snow in Peoria, but not so much anymore. But, and it's winter and I'm walking down the street and all of a sudden I get a sharp pain in the back of my neck and it's ice cold and it's tingling and I have this state of shock. And then I hear these kids laughing and I turn around and I see these kids, smiles, snowballs in hand, snowballs flying at me. Okay, that's what's happening. So if in my map and in my experiences, I have trauma around that, I was bullied as a kid. Snowballs were thrown at me in meanness. And it was all tight. And then my dad got angry at me because, not for real, this is a straight up story, got angry at me because I'm a weakling and I can't stand up to those bullies. And eventually in my life, I made this solemn oath that never again would ever anyone bully me like that. So you have these innocent little kids playing a game and this person gets all angry and reacts in rage against these kids because of all these meanings. And he then reacted from all of that and in a fraction of a second.
Right.
Or if someone had that experience happen and instantly when they see the kids laughing, the giggling, the coldness on the back of their neck, warm, fun memories come up of having played these snowball fights all the time. And even memories of them involving random adults walking by and those adults enjoying it and enjoying the fun. So many great memories out of that. I'm going to give these kids something they're going to remember and they're going to have so much joy in their life, just like I did. And they start to play with them. Right.
Yes.
Same
and
situation, two different reactions.
Out there. He said, this is kind of why we can have the same exact thing happen to us and have a complete different reaction to it. The same.
Absolutely.
Experience. Yeah. Okay.
Because we all have different maps that we operate out of.
Yeah.
And so I learned this and it made it so much easier for me to understand, this theology I have is just a part of my map. And I didn't the very first thing that tumbled for me was one of the presuppositions of NLP is you are not broken. You work perfectly well. How is that possible? I do all these terrible things that I hate and I can't stand. How can I even think? And I was thinking this, how can I believe that I'm not broken? I feel very broken.
Right. We all feel pretty broken. Yeah.
Yeah. But the reality is your brain is operating perfectly, executing your beliefs exactly as it's programmed in your brain. Your brain is operating perfectly well.
It's
The
following the
issue
map it
is
got from childhood.
exactly. So the issue is, how's your map? If you don't like what you're doing or how you're automatically reacting, it's not you. You're not broken. You just want to update your map. Find the program, find the belief that's there.
Update the map.
And so that's what's so much fun. So
I got to know how to update my map, Daryl.
So what's a belief? That's the question. That's a really big question. What is a belief, right? So if you believe something, it's not just something that you know, right? So there's things that we know, like, okay, yeah, that's true, but that's like, it's not really important. In the most basic form, a belief is something that you've said yes to, but not just, yeah. A belief is something that viscerally, and sometimes it's through a trauma or through an experience where in your body, it lights up and it's like, this is true. And in your physiology, it is true. And you have all these past experiences. This is true. It's how you also lock it in, the emotions you have around it. That's what a belief is.
For everybody listening, give a couple examples of what like a common belief people have is.
Well, I mean, just take any belief. I mean, the belief in hell, thousands of people, hell, even way after you stop believing in Christianity, just hangs on and is just this thing that you can't
hell's a big one
to shake. Because think about, I mean, that is not only is your very existence, your life, your eternal soul is on the line. And the very real threat of death and total destruction. It's like, it's powerfully emotionally charged and it's in your brain and it's sitting in there. It's so hard to get out. So if you want to disconfirm a belief, it is really just saying no to it. I'm going to tell people this and be careful with using this. It's like one of those, do you remember the movie Men in Black, right?
Yeah. A lot.
And one of the greatest little scenes of that movie is when Will Smith is getting his new weapon for the first time. They're in the headquarters, right? And Tommy Lee Jones picks out this gigantic gun and he's like a manly gun. And he hands Will Smith this little tiny pea shooter. And he's like, what's this? And he's like, whoa. Be very careful with that. A few minutes later, he shoots this tiny pea shooter and it like way powerful. That's what this is. It seems real simple. Just say no to it. It can be very, very powerful. So just when you really want to take what I'm about to say and use it, think through and make sure that what you're saying no to is very precise, because this can have a really powerful unraveling effect. We call it meta yes, meta no, just saying a more powerful yes and a more powerful no.
Okay.
So you want to first figure out how your brain uniquely does that. So if there's something that comes to you in your life and you don't want it and you say no to it without any problem, fully, completely, without even a second thought. If someone hands you a wiggling bowl of worms and it says, go ahead, eat this, are you going to say yes or are you going to say no? How are you going to say no? What are you going to feel in your body when you reject and say no to that? If someone says, hey, I lost my arm in this accident and there's a new surgery, will you chop off your arm and give it to me so I can sew it back on,
Yeah.
Would you say like, no? So you pay attention to how you say no in a clear, definitive, decisive way, and notice in your body how you do it. What do you feel in your body? Where do you feel it in your body? What kind of thoughts go along with that no that you use? That's such a powerful, easy, absolutely no way kind of no.
Yeah.
That is your own personal meta no. And so you can use that anytime you really have something going on and you need to really just kick it out and just say, I'm not doing that. Just make sure you're precise about it, because any belief that you have, because there's all those layers, you will not believe it unless it's doing something for you that's beneficial in some way.
Yeah.
Right? An addict is an addict because they're getting something out of it that's helping them.
Right.
A lot of what addiction recovery is unraveling it, saying, what is it that this addiction is giving you? Okay. So find it, get really precise and clear about it. Now, how do you get that in a healthy way?
Yeah.
Right.
I just saw a video the other day about addiction, and I hadn't really thought about this way till I saw it. Good job. Basically, the guy said, good job for being an addict, because that was what you were given to survive, right? You went through it. You would get that worked for you. That was survival mode. Good job for preserving yourself in that way. But now it's not serving you anymore. So it reminded me of what you said, because it's like, now we got to go back to that map and adjust, because that's not how we're going to survive anymore. So it was nice because it looked at addictions in a different way. It didn't look down on it. It wasn't punitive. It was like, hey, good job. You made it through that, right?
Yeah.
Survival mode for you. You made it through your life because of that drug, because of the alcohol, whatever. But now it's time to change, right? Now we don't need to survive like that anymore.
But you can even go a little bit further with it. This meta coaching and this NLP is so much fun, because you can look at anything, and if you know how to break it down into its constituent parts, asking really good probing questions, getting into the neurology and the physiology of how did that feel? Where was that? What do you really believe? What's behind that belief? That's a lot of what the training is. Then you can even begin to understand that perseverance outside of the chemical addiction piece of it, right? But that ability, I can understand how I'm able to hold on to that, and then take the drinking out, take the alcohol out. Instead, I want to feel loved. Well, now if I am sure feeling loved, but I still have this, I know I can still be this persevering and feeling loved. And so that's how that works. The meta no is just one piece of that. You can say no to that thing, but then you also, everything abhors a vacuum. So you can't just leave it empty. It's about then also, what do you want to believe instead? What's a belief that fits even better?
So
and then you say yes to it. Yeah. So the opposite is, how do you say yes to something with all of your fiber of your being that's exciting, that you like? Would you like to win this? Here's the winning Powerball ticket. Would you like $137 million?
Yeah.
You don't say, it's like, how would you say it? How would you feel?
You're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? What are the bits and the pieces? How does it feel? Where in your body do you feel that powerful yes? And then you adopt that neurology. So it's just understanding your map on how you say yes, and you accept it, and you believe it, and you want it. What's the map look like for that yes? What's the map look like for that no? You don't even have to worry about where should it be, or where does it most like. It's like, where is it for you? This is your unique body.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're just identifying. We talk a lot about like feeling it in our bodies. So then when another decision comes, I can say, where do I feel it? If I feel it in my, meta no zone, it's probably a no. So is that how we're making this map? By following those instincts?
You take control of that. So how do you want to say yes to this? Well, I know how I can physiologically and in my mind, what pictures do I hold it in? When I see something I want is yes. Is it a vibrant picture? Is it a movie? What kind of soundtrack do I have? All those different 5 senses, you build that into, this is the way I say yes to something that I deeply want. And you use that when you need to. And same with the no, when you need to break it down, get very precise. What is it exactly that I'm saying no to? Because it's not like I don't want to be an addict anymore. Okay, that's good. But then what is it inside of that you need to say no to? What is it inside of being an addict that's actually good, that you want to preserve? And don't say no to that part, right? Because there's something in there, whatever it may be, and everyone's slightly different. So that's where the coaching process and the meta coaching.
Okay, yeah.
And this, it's interesting because these tools, even though Michael Hall is born in the USA, they've taken off a lot more in other parts of the world. And they're taking off more, like Canva. Their internal training program is like all exclusively meta coaching. Qatar Airways in Qatar, that whole airline uses meta coaching type of tools for their internal leadership development. It's just really powerful stuff. It's really a lot of fun, right?
We're talking about the map in our brain. We're reworking our map and our whole way of thinking, right? When a thought comes into our brain, how it routes around with that map. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, you can say it that way. Yeah.
Okay.
And then it goes even further, because then it's like, because all of this then comes together and they all stack and interrelate. So other meta programs. So a really great example, which if you're dating someone, so how does someone marry a person who seemed to be such a great guy? Let's pick on the guys. I'm such a great guy, so romantic, so paying attentive. And then you get married and they seem to completely turn into somebody else. Were they just being a bruiser? Were they tricking me on purpose? Maybe. But the other thing could easily be is they have a whole program, a whole way that they operate and believe that they are supposed to be as a boyfriend. Mm-hmm. But however they grew up at home, I always look at the home life. So when they grew up and they got absorbed into the program of what a father is, mm-hmm. and which will be different than what a dad is. If their father was the most amazing dad, but an absolute monster to mom, mm-hmm. then that's in that program. And they may not even realize it until they actually get married. Now that program turns on and now they're running the program of husband. And so there's all those kind of little bits and pieces going on.
Redo the map you were embedded with on marriage, on being a good partner, on being a good parent, whatever it is. I think a lot of people get stuck in money problems based on the map they grew up with.
Yeah.
Right?
What's your belief about money?
Yeah.
Good old Christian, the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil.
Yeah, but I'll just say there's an awful lot of very prominent, high up religious people out there with their private jets and a lot of moolah going on.
Yes, absolutely.
Kind of contradicting. We won't get into that, but I'm just saying.
But that's why. And so you can just, for me, it helps. So the other benefit of that is I can just give a lot of grace and say, you're just running off your map and you just don't know that you think you're running off the territory. And especially if you've been conditioned to not even know there's a map, it's just that this is the territory. You're the blessed chosen one. You're running off the territory and everybody else is lost. Yeah. That's part of okay, that's their map. And it's hard to break free from your map, right?
Yeah. That's why some people have filter on money. Like you said, if we were raised that money is the root of all evil, blah, 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 we feel guilty to bring more money into our lives. When really, it's not the root of all evil. We can use money for good too, guys.
Right. And then I know I can use money for good, but you still have this program running deep down inside that you don't know how to get to and you don't know how to change it. And that's just part of, there's a lot of other tools out there that accomplish the same thing. It's just another tool.
Because this way of thinking and coaching is going to be spot on for some people. They're able to really get into it and maybe not for others. I have a question.
Yeah.
That came up in my head. So what do you think about, we're talking about the map and memories that started way back in childhood. So what about for my listeners who have childhood traumas that they kind of remember, but not in detail and not fully, like their body and their mind knows these things happened, but the details are fuzzy. We don't have full memory. To modify our map and heal, do we need to bring those forward and remember fully? Or is there a way around that?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways to answer that. I'm going to say first, I love the fact that there are so many different ways to go at it. I personally have benefited in the last couple of years immensely from seeing a therapist who practices NET.
Okay.
It's not meta coaching. It's a completely different modality. If some of the group may know this, muscle testing, this idea that if your body keeps the score, sometimes holistic practitioners, you can take a bottle of vitamins. It's like, am I going to have a bad reaction to these vitamins? You hold it at your navel, you hold your arm out. And if you're really strong, it's fine. And if you're really super weak, and then you take it away and you're strong,
Okay. So we're dealing with all the energetics of things.
Yes. So
okay.
NET works with the energy and uses just muscle testing ideas to test beliefs, thoughts. And I would go through this and I identify a belief that I have that doesn't work for me. And she goes, and she has a specific way she says it. The words, again, linguistically, how she says it triggers in the brain a certain way. How old were you when you first learned X, da, da, da?
Yeah.
And 0 to 5, test, I'm strong. 5 to 6, 6 to 10, I'm strong. 10 to 15, my arm just gives out. And then she narrows it down, and then she goes, oh, well, so 13, how old, what was going on in your life at 13 in which you learned this, and then and what's amazing is I just remember the memory, and then we're able to, using pressure points and holding it, and then hold that memory, hold that thought, hold this pressure point, and then just breathe out and just release that energy. I have been able to release so many past traumatic things just by this guided way of finding it and hitting she knows which pressure point you hold to help release it out of your body. I love NET. And I think anybody who has an NET therapeutic practitioner around them, think about it. That could be a positive thing. But with NLP, you can also go about it without having to relive the whole thing. And this works well with smaller, single traumatic event things. And I will say very clearly, I think when you're dealing with trauma, see someone who's trauma informed. I'm very careful. If I'm working with someone who has a lot of traumas, there's people who I would never work with, because you need someone who's a therapist who is trauma informed to help you really unravel this. And then I can help people they basically have it together. They're doing well, but they just need some help. It's a coach.
Still there.
Coaches versus therapists, right? There's a difference. Yeah. But there's a pattern in NLP called trauma rewind pattern.
Okay.
And it allows you for example, I've used this dozens and dozens and dozens of times with people who have simple phobias like spiders.
Okay.
Right. And someone deadly afraid of spiders. It's just holy cow. Ask them some questions, talk to them for a couple minutes, get to that place of where did this initial trauma memory happen. I was doing this with someone, and I talked to them 5 minutes, they remembered when they were in the basement and their dad was cleaning out the crawl space, and he came out of the crawl space with cobwebs all over his face and just scared the kid. Not on purpose. It just happened.
Yeah.
And then that child's brain went, spiders kill you. From that, right? And so found that we were able to remember the memory, but make it a small picture, black and white, put it distance from you in your brain. You remember the memory that way. It just is not as you hold it, but it's not impacting you because it's black and white. It's a small picture, still frame further away from you, right?
Okay.
And then there's this pattern that we go through where we're able to go establish the opposite memory, opposite feeling of a different memory before that event, opposite feeling of that trauma from a different memory after, and you sort of do this with it, and then you just rewind them. The old VHS tapes, hyper rewind, super fast.
Oh yeah.
And you get them solidly in this happy state, and you tell them what's going to happen, and then you just snap your fingers 1, 2, 3, rewind your life, holding on to this happiness. And then you just blow through that old memory and you land right at the previous happy memory. It's backwards rewind. Kind of like
the old VHS tape, you're kind of recording over it a little bit.
Yeah. And so what that actually, so the NLP pattern just takes the physical memory in your brain and it scrambles it. It breaks it open, because in a lot of ways, a trauma in the brain gets isolated. So if you get punched in the face and you get a big black eye, it's because you have an injury, and your body's response to injury is to surround and isolate it so it can heal.
Okay, yep.
Your brain does the same thing to trauma in your brain. It surrounds it, it isolates it. So you can learn all there is to know about spiders and how spiders aren't bad for you. They're whatever, but it's not going to get to that traumatic memory because it's been isolated, because they protect you from it. We're going to hide that memory. We're going to store it away so it doesn't interfere with you, but it still does, So that what that trauma rewind does then is it breaks it open. So now that it's broken open and it takes the emotional sting out, now your brain, and just a few minute conversation after that, you can bring all those things about, spiders are safe. I won't touch a black widow. I know what they are. I know the differences. Yeah. And now, in a very quick way, all that truth about spiders now can actually get to that memory, and then the fear of spiders is gone in 20 minutes. Okay. So that's just an example of that.
Yeah. In 20 minutes, can you get people to stop overeating? Just asking for a friend, Daryl.
I think it just depends on what it is. So it's we have that conversation. You need to tease out what actually is going on. And there are lots of different tools that you can use.
Oh, just like addiction with food. Plenty of food addiction out there too.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I need to use that for myself. So, I mean.
So this kind of therapy, this kind of tool works in those kind of instances. Now, if you have repeated traumas, big traumas, like if you have childhood sexual abuse traumas and things like that, this isn't a 20-minute sesh.
Okay. No, yeah. And then in those cases, get a really good trauma-informed
you got to get a trauma-informed therapist that can work.
And that but it's like, but I think like the NAT, I would recommend that because some therapy does say you have to relive it and bring it up and be debilitated. And so different
people have asked me, do we need to relive it or is it an option not to? Can I heal fully without reliving?
Yeah. And I think you can. I think there are a lot of tools out there. I even, refer back to Beth. And hey, Beth, I'm proud of you. That interview was so awesome. Just the yoga and how yoga and body movement can help with trauma. The NET can help relieve the trauma. And especially if it's complex, I think there's just so many you take different angles at it because it's just a lot of layers to it.
Okay. So what you just explained to us about, going before and after upping time, is this part of the way we are remaking our map?
Yeah. That's a tool to help break free. So that also, in a sense, that's how you broke apart that memory. You broke open that trauma. So you're able to get free of that. If you have a deep fear of hell, tools can be used in a lot of different ways. It's possible. You find that one incident where that fear of hell really got installed. Yeah. And then I could do a memory trauma rewind pattern over that particular memory. And that can help then clear out that fear of hell.
Clear that out so you don't have as much of the fear. Yeah. So for all my parents, grandparents, everybody listening out there, is there a way we can do better for these young kids in making their map not so destructive later in their lives?
Oh man.
I mean,
I don't know. It's so hard. The way the human brain works in this world, I don't know if anyone can get through this life unscathed. I think everyone, you grow up, you are going to pick up beliefs that don't work for you because they're beliefs that worked as a child in the context of where you were to get you through. We all have the responsibility of doing the work to heal once we become an adult. You have to go back, you have to heal. And there is a very real sense in which, now, in some cases, some parents are worse than others, but I think all parents really do the best they can with the tools they had. Mm-hmm. I need to remind that for myself with my kids or even with my parents or with me, doing the best that I could, that they could with the tools they had at the time. Mm-hmm. And so you can give a little bit of grace, right? But then still, it doesn't mean you have to be best friends with them. You can still set your boundaries. It's really hard, especially, I'm Gen X. And I was not really, we didn't have a whole lot of emotionally well-rounded parents doing the best they could with what tools they had. But listening to the kids and trusting them when they say how they're feeling. Yeah. Trusting them when they say, this is what, and really that goes to the heart of a lot of religion. A lot of religious traditions look outside of yourself to find salvation. In order to find salvation, you have to merge with something outside of you, but you can't trust yourself. And so counteracting that, helping them beginning to learn how to trust themselves. Yes. Or even, this is how I feel. Validate. Okay, I get how you feel. Help them understand, why do you feel that way? What could it mean? And sometimes too, what is really helpful is understanding that difference between emotion and physiologically what's going on in your body and the meanings that you add to that emotion, right? What are the feelings that you normally have and when do they start? I feel this tightness in my chest and I feel my tingling in my arms, whatever. Part of it is, okay, that's just a physiology happening in your body. What else could it mean? What other meaning do you want to give to that? Because that fear and excitement almost always have the exact same physiology going on in your body. So I'm too afraid. Well, yeah, but that same experience you're feeling of fear is also the same kind of experience you experience when you're excited. Yeah. So I'm going to get up on stage and speak in front of people. I always get a little nervous before I walk up on the stage.
Sure.
But that's not, so I've trained and locked it in. that physiology means this, not that. So I think part of that too with kids, and we are talking to them when they have these big feelings, helping them say, okay, where do you feel that in your body? Oh, and your stomach hurts and you're angry and your face is all red, and that helps them ground and understand, physiology, what's going on. And then, well, what does that mean? Why do you think that? And then I think helping people see that difference between my physiology and what I mean, because I can change the meaning. Well, what if you're not so much afraid? What if you're just really excited? And you can mean that now you're excited because something great's going to happen.
Yeah.
Instead of a fear that something. Yeah, it's just a way to reframe it. So it's all about reframing, helping kids begin to have a vocabulary. Americans, y'all, we have terrible vocabulary when it comes to our emotions. We have, I love everything, pizza, my wife, my dog, a sunshine. If you can feel in your body the feeling, and then also get a really good, precise word to describe what you're feeling, that gives you a lot of control instantly. Because
listen, Daryl, as Gen Xers, we aren't really set up for this.
I know. Why do you think I love learning this? Like, I need this. Help me.
These things, okay? We all sit and make fun of us Gen Xers, like the gentle parenting, the all this stuff. We're like, what in the heck? Okay, so I think we're going to have to do the work on ourselves first, obviously, before we had to try and help out the old kids, because they're already, not being raised the same way as we were. So, no, this sounds like we're talking about doing this for kids. I think we really have to start doing it for ourselves first.
For sure.
We
Absolutely.
don't have these tools, man. Our parents weren't doing these things.
And then as we do it for ourselves, and if our kids can see it, even if our kids are grown, and they see, it's like, mom's actually trying to get better.
Yeah.
Mom used to always just fly off the handle every time I brought up this thing.
And
this time I actually saw her.
Wow.
She took a breath and then she didn't overreact immediately. Wow. So that it helps even the adult kids.
Doing that too. Yeah. No.
Absolutely.
So I feel like they're just going to start feeling a different vibe, because as we're in these spiritual journeys, we're opening up, we're learning things. We don't need to force anybody onto this journey. We're both on our own path as long as we're respectful about each other's thoughts and feelings about things. Okay, it's fine. So I think, as we walk this journey, sometimes we want to start changing everybody around us. No, if we just change ourselves, it's going to ripple out. It's going to ripple out to everybody else, you guys. So
now let me can I give a warning?
Oh, please.
A warning what happens when you change, right?
Yeah.
And this is why it's so hard for family and friends when we change, because part of that map and part of that need of our brain to protect us is to know that my environment is stable. In the morning, I don't want to have to think about, is the sun still going to shine? Am I still going to have a job when I wake up in the morning? There's some things that you just want to know are there and stable. And our brains will automatically do that with our relationships, right? Yeah. So if you want to think about our brain and how it handles relationships, like the old-fashioned children's mobiles that hang over the cribs.
Yes.
Now, the new ones are hard plastic and, you can hit it and it doesn't go anywhere. But the old-fashioned ones, we're Gen X. We know the old-fashioned ones.
I mean, people would cringe at the stuff I used to even put in my kids' cribs. My kids.
But, so this thing, it's barely balanced, and it's just this perfect thing. And this is this weight, this string is this long, and this one's shorter and the string is this long. If you adjust and change any of those dynamics of any of those pieces on the mobile, the whole mobile goes cattywampus.
Yep.
And it doesn't spin, it doesn't work. So when we change, the people around us, then everything's different. And so they no matter what you do, no matter what you say, they're going to have to adjust. They're going to have to do something about that, which is why some people just push you away. I can't handle that, so it's just easier if I don't deal with you. Or even as simple as when we go and get together with family for family gatherings and you go back home, isn't it just so easy to slide back into how you behaved when you were a teenager in your home and your siblings are there and you just like, I'm a grown woman. Why am I reacting this way with my siblings when I'm at home? It's like I never left.
Right.
because sometimes our brain will just do that. Oh, we're back around these people.
Back in the map. Yep.
This is how we do. This is how the mobile works and hangs, and everybody has their place.
Right.
And so
and
that's why it's so hard.
It's not all going to work the same, the dynamic. You recently got together with your family, right? You had a traumatic loss recently. So you probably did have to get back into that dynamic for a minute and meet up with all of your family, right?
Yeah, it was different. And that was actually really good. So yes, my brother passed away, tragic car accident, unexpected. And there was tension because it's only been a couple of years since I came out and told my family that I'm not a Christian any longer. And thankfully, I called and had a really good conversation. It was normal. It was beautiful. It felt like how it used to be.
Yeah.
And, we didn't touch on any things we disagreed on. But the fact that I had that really just means the world to me.
Sure.
My last interaction with him was a good one.
My gosh. Okay. So Daryl, you're a master practitioner in Neuro-Semantic NLP. So this is like a coaching practice you have, and this is one of the tools that you implement, or how are you utilizing it in your life right now?
So what's really interesting with the timing of speaking to you today is because in my own spiritual journey, I had to step back from using these tools for others because I was doing that and it was so much fun and I enjoyed helping people. But then I sort of hit a spot where I needed to go deep again. And I was not in a place that I could help others. So I had to sort of set that aside for a while.
Yeah.
And just allow myself to heal and to grow. And then also because when I started doing it, I hadn't come out to my family yet either, and so it was just really, I needed that time. So I really am at the place already. It's like, I want to bring this back up, and start doing this again.
Because you just work on yourself and the healing you needed to do. And now are you at a place now where you feel like you're ready to share it with others a little bit more again?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been able to always use it in the coaching with the volunteers I work with the nonprofit and all kinds of contexts, right?
Yeah.
I enjoy empowering other people. People have everything that they need already inside of them. It's just a matter of understanding how to access it.
Right.
Which is another NLP presupposition. You already have all the tools you need within inside of you. Even if you don't know, you know how to learn. You know how to find it.
Yeah.
If you're having a hard time, then what's your program around learning something new? Whatever, right? Yeah. So it's just a lot of fun to help people, to empower them to go after and trust themselves again. And so, I'm looking forward to just starting back up on social media, sharing tips and tricks and seeing how that goes.
So
you
guys know all of his links are in the show notes. So you'll be able to find and follow and listen to more things he has going on because, like I said, we can do this alone, but why? If there's, there's techniques and people to help us heal and move forward on our path, why wouldn't we utilize them all? So this may be something you guys might want to start doing a little deep dive into things we talked about, because it sounds like a lot of the basis of this whole thing is that damn map we made in our brain.
Yeah.
And how to utilize it in a more positive way.
Yeah. But it's not a damn map. It's a good map. Just update it.
Certain days that we might feel like, that damn map's mine. I got to modify that now. More to modify on the map.
Yeah. I actually, and then, I heard, I saw a great meme and I shared it the other day, but, there is when you feel triggered by anything, that's not a failure on your part. It's just the opportunity for a part of you that needs healing to come to the surface so you can bring healing to it. So that's just the joy about it. It's like, so there is no failure. Everything is an opportunity. If you try it and it doesn't work, you just learn something new and you can go try again if you want to. So it's just, there's so much freedom when we can just change our map in our mind to work for us. Yeah. And we have that ability. We have that power, that ability to do it. It's awesome. I love it. Can I share something really quick when you asked that question? So there's a fun little way I sort of incorporated different things I've heard, and I call the slip method. How do you slip out of the grip of negative emotions when it just grabs you, right? Yeah. And so slip is 4 steps. The first thing you want to do is you want to stop, right? And so again, knowing how do I make myself stop quickly in a way that works. So do you want to imagine a police holding a stop sign and a whistle? Do you want to see a crossing guard with a bunch of kids in front of you stop? So what do you want to do? You want to stop, right? I often say, just do this. If you're raging in emotions It's almost like you're in a car and you slam on your brakes and touch your chest. Stop.
Okay.
If you want, you can play with it however works for you.
Whatever works
but
for
just
you.
Touching your chest is good because if you're angry and your emotions are spinning, you're stuck in your head. But here you're connecting and you're feeling your body. So just stop. Okay. And then L is locate. What is happening in your body? Locate what feelings are taking place where in my body. Don't think about anything else, just the feeling. So my stomach is all knotted up. My hairs are standing up on the back of my head. My face is flush. Just locate, what's going on in the body. Then try to identify the emotion. Put a word or a label to what you're feeling, which is why having an expanded vocabulary can be really helpful. But stop, locate what's going on where, then identify that feeling. I'm angry. I want to do that, whatever. And then the last P is play. But you specifically play a happy gratitude film in your mind. Just stop. It's another way to say, be grateful, practice some gratitude, but stop and just play, but then try to remember, okay, the last time you were grateful, play it in your mind, try to relive it a little bit, but just play a gratitude film. Say a couple things you're grateful for, right? So stop, locate, identify it, and then just sort of play a little,
kind of record over it.
Yeah. I'll just play a little okay, I can remember the last time I felt really, you know what I mean? Just whatever it is. So you think about it ahead of time. How will I do that? What is my stop? What is my gratitude movie I think I can play that really helps me in your mind? And if you think about it ahead of time, you can practice it a couple times when you're just doing nothing. So you're used to doing it so that when
it really
you are stressed, practice it when you're not stressed. And then when you do, it's easier just to do that. So that's just a little freebie.
Yeah, that makes sense because that's a lot of the work behind breath work too. Practicing your breath work before you're in your anxiety attack or before you know what I mean? So that it feels very natural to your body to slip into that when it's time. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Oh my gosh. All right. We have so much to think about now, Daryl.
Fun.
So much information. Oh gosh. Do you have any final words to anyone out there right now who is in the middle of a religious deconstruction right now and is trying to change and reframe their map, what's been embedded in their bodies and in their brains their entire life? Tips, tricks?
I think just practicing a lot of really good acceptance. Just not acceptance, defeatism, it is what it is, but just saying this is what's happening. So when you feel anger, don't try to shove it down. That's a lot of that religious stuff is shoving it down, crucify the flesh, kill it, take every thought captive. When I was a kid growing up, take every thought captive meant take it and lock it in a cage and shove it down somewhere.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Book of Mormon, Daryl? The play?
No, I need to, but no, I haven't.
You have to. When you just said that, it reminded me. They literally have a song in it. There's a whole number that's about shove it down, down.
Exactly. But just that, it's okay. I can accept the fact that I'm angry. It's okay. And I think so much of the work is just integrating and just being okay with all the different parts of who we are as people. Yeah. And so it's not even this terror. It's okay, this is my map. This is where I'm at right now, and I did the best that I could. So that kind of just self-love and just accepting yourself where you are, knowing that you can get better. You can make some changes of things you want to change, but just who you are is great.
Who you are is great right now. And give yourself the grace to change.
Yeah.
Because you
don't have to change to love yourself.
Today. Yeah. Here's what I believe today. But I reserve the right to change. And 5 years from now, I might be coming at you with some different ideas. I don't know. But I'm going to give myself the grace to say that I can grow and change in whatever direction that I'm led. Right?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. All right. We can do this, you guys.
It's awesome.
You got this. And if you're out there in the midst of this right now, part of the reason I do this podcast and have guests like Daryl on is to let you know, you're not alone. If you think you're the only one dealing with this stuff, you're not. There's a whole slew of us, especially us Gen Xers right now. We're all kind of in it together. So we got this. You're not alone. There's help out there and there's tools. And Daryl told us about another new one today that we can utilize. So this is exciting. This is good news.
Thanks for the opportunity. It's so much fun.
Yeah. Thanks so much for being here, Daryl. And if you have more stuff going on in the future, reach out. Let us know. I'm sure we'd love to hear about it.
Absolutely.
All the new things.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Daryl. Bye. Listen, I know your time is valuable. And right now I'm feeling super grateful and totally humbled that you chose to hang out with me today. If this podcast resonates with you, could you do me a solid and hit that subscribe or follow button? That's going to help you out because you're never going to miss an episode. And it helps me out because you're never going to miss an episode. And if you have like 30 seconds more, could you leave a 5-star rating and maybe leave a kick-ass review? Thank you so much. And I can't wait to continue our journey on the next episode. Oh, and I can't forget the fine print. You know, the legal jargon. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We're just two friends on this journey together, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or any other qualified professional. You get it. See you next time.